Thwam, Shalom, Akim, and Akwa. This is your brother Azariah. I want to start by giving all the praise, all the honor, and the glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahawashi, Yahweh being the true name of the Most High God, and doing so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world knows as Jesus Christ. But we know His true name to be Yahawashi, and He is the Hamasyach. All right. And what we're gonna do today is, in this particular lesson, Yahweh willing, want to drive into the narrative and hope it's edifying that we're gonna get into. Yahawashi Hamasyach, hey, what's going on, man? Yahawashi Hamasyach, what I'm saying, being, evidently proved, and we're going to do it through the book of Isaiah, chapter 53, right? This is the Yah only killer, right here in the book of Isaiah 53. And there's plenty of precepts. And there's actually another Yah only killer, in the, the Bible. There's a couple of hitters, but this is a killer. Isaiah 53 is a killer. I got another one, that I may bring out. If not this lesson, it might be in its own lesson. But right here, we're going to deal with Isaiah 53. And really, when you're just dealing with it, with the quote unquote Old Testament only Israelites that, and I say quote unquote really because they only deal with the Old Testament. But when you deal with the Old Testament, you'll see that, really, if you see precepts, chapters, and certain verses, that really pertain to Yahawashi. The New Testament expands on, and I always say this, the New Testament expounds upon the Old Testament about the things that were written, whether it be in the law, the commandments, the prophets. These things are further explained to a even more degree when it comes to the pathway of everlasting life and salvation that the Most High had already written, had already promised in the so-called Old Testament. It's expounded upon in the so-called New Testament. I mean, we know that the disciples, they didn't have a New Testament. They were living it, right? So they had to refer to what? The so-called Old Testament, right? They had to refer to the Torah, the prophets, right? They had to go into these things. So, it's one of those things, unfortunately, and it gets aggravating, annoying. I'm not going to lie, but, in the spirit, you gotta just even feel sorry for, brothers and sisters that, don't have Yahawashi, can't even see that he even exists. And the Most High just won't let them believe. It is what it is. So, but we're going to go here to make sure for brothers and sisters that do believe that, hey, look, this is in your arsenal, not even necessarily to the debate, but really to just for your belief, stance and understanding. Or even if it does, lead into that and you have a discussion with a quote unquote OT only, but really more so for your faith aspect. So let's start off with Isaiah 53, right? Who have believed our report, and to whom is the arm of Yahweh revealed? Right? For he shall grow up. Now look at this. We're looking at the arm of Yahweh, right? Who believed our report and the arm of Yahweh. Now notice we're starting in the book of Isaiah, right? So because unless you're dealing with someone who's Tanakh only, they will accept the book of Isaiah. All right. Now let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 20, and verse 6. Now know I that Yahweh saveth his anointed. He will hear him from his holy heaven with the saving strength of his right hand. We see this is the right hand of the Most High Yahweh. And now we're tying it in Isaiah 53, first verse. Right? Now let's, off the top of my head, I'm going to go to Acts 2, right? Which this is also written in, the Psalms. Let's see, here we go right here. This is Acts 2 and 24. For whom Yahweh have raised up, having loosed the pains of death, because it was not possible that he should be holden of it. For David speaketh concerning him, I foresaw the Lord always before my face, for he is on my right hand, that I should not be moved. See that? We know that Yahawashi Hamasyach went to go sit on the right hand of the Father. There's plenty precepts. We know that he is the right arm of the Father. Like, like his right hand man. Basically that's what he's saying. Yahawashi is his right hand man. Let's go jump down to 34. For David is not ascended into the heavens, but he saith himself. So that's what I'm saying. This is a cut now. OT only is not going to accept this, right? A Yah, quote unquote, Yah only, it's not going to accept this. But this is what they're missing out on, not understanding the parable. So, what Yahawashi said in the Matthew 13, right? This is for them, the kingdom of heaven has not been given. The mysteries is hidden from them. Right? So Yahweh said unto my Lord, sit thou on my right hand. Right? And what is he quoting? He's quoting from Psalms 110 and 1. All right. This is what David is referencing. Psalms 110 and 1. Yahweh said unto my Lord, right? Which this is really in the spirit. This is Yahawashi that has not been revealed yet. Because it's in the Lord said unto my Lord. Yahweh said unto Yahawashi, right? Which is still the Lord of David. Sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. From a kingdom perspective, everything that's going to be set, Yahawashi is the king of all kings. So he'll be Lord even over David, despite the fact that he comes from the lineage of David, and David is a king in his own right, but Yahawashi is the king of kings, right? And so this is the thing. Yahweh shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. See that? So we see right here that this is all tying in together, dealing with the right hand or the right arm of Yahweh. That right hand man, right, is Yahawashi Hamasyach. All right. For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant and as a root out of a dry ground. He have no form nor comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. Right. He's nothing extravagant in the sense of his appearance. Right. He's not like a David or even his previous form as Solomon. Right. It's not as pleasing. Right. It says no comeliness. But, what I'm saying, that's the thing for him to be rejected. The builder, was rejected. The cornerstone, him being rejected. Right. Let's go to verse 3. He is despised and rejected of men. See, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised and we esteemed him not. Surely he had borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of the Most High God, and afflicted. All right. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. You see, really, you would have to throw, because I know a lot of times, quote unquote, Yah only Israelites will bring up the fact that, well, hey, they'll bring up the fact that a man shouldn't die, no longer should, like, the kid die for the father, they'll die for their own sin. So we don't need that. But then you'd have to throw away the book of Isaiah 53 in its totality if you're talking about this, because this is talking about some guy wounded for the transgressions of his people, right? Bruised for our iniquities. He's talking about Israel, the nation of Israel, bruised for our iniquities, wounded for our transgressions. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. With his stripes, we are healed. You see that? And again, this might, I might have to tie it in to the other Yah only killer, right? I might have to. But, we'll see. We'll see. Verse 6, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. And Yahweh have laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted. Yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter. As a sheep before his shears is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. Who could this be talking about? If this isn't talking about Yahawashi, you would have to ask him, who is this person? Who is this person that's being discussed in Isaiah 53? right? He was taken from prison. I'm going to jump down actually. All right. Yet it pleased Yahawah to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahweh shall prosper in his hand. So no matter what is all this beating that this person is taking, the Most High is still pleased with him, right? He's going to prolong his days. He shall see of the travail of his soul, shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. See that? Right? Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. Who else could this be? Right? This doesn't even have to be long. This is really a questionnaire for, like, you take this in your arsenal, Isaiah 53. Who else could this be talking about? We just read it's not talking to. This isn't pertaining to David. You know, right? We didn't see that David didn't die like this. Who would this be pertaining to? If it's not Yahawashi, you don't believe he's the Messiah. Okay. Well, who will this pertain to? It's not talking about all Israel. Remember, he kept reading about our. Israel is involved, but we're talking about the person who was bruised for the iniquities of Israel. Right? Whose chastisement of our peace, the chastisement of our peace was upon him. Who is the him? And with his stripes were healed. Who is this? Let's go to 1 Peter 2. Right? And we're going to go to 21. For even hereunto were ye called, because Hamasyach also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither guile found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we, being dead to sin, should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes ye were healed. See that? So clearly there had to be someone to atone. There had to be a sacrifice for the nation of Israel. All right. Let's get the book of Psalms, chapter 16. We'll go for verse 9. Starting in verse 9. Therefore my heart is glad, and my glory rejoiceth. My flesh also shall rest in hope. For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption. See that? Thou wilt not leave my soul in hell. And when you look at the expansion upon this, of what David's saying, because it says, neither wilt thou suffer thy Holy One to see corruption. So just in case anyone wants to say this is David's speaking about himself in terms of thy Holy One, right? David is prophesying right here in Psalm 16. Let's go to the book of Acts. Again, we're going to go back to Acts 2. Now, mind you, again, OT only or YAH only, Israelite is not going to accept this, but this is for brothers and sisters who believe in Yahawashi. This is really for your edification. All right. Let's go. Let's go right here. Acts 2:25. For David speaketh concerning him, I foresaw the Lord always before my face, for he is on my right hand, that I should not be moved. Therefore did my heart rejoice, and my tongue was glad. Moreover, also my flesh shall rest in hope, because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption. Now see that? Now this is what Peter right here is quoting from. Verse 28. Thou hast made known to me the ways of life. thou shalt make me full of joy with thy countenance. Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his sepulchre is with us unto this day. Right? Therefore, being a prophet and knowing that Yahweh, the Most High God, had sworn with an oath to him that of the fruit of his loins according to the flesh, he would raise up Hamasyach to sit on his throne. He, seeing this before, spake of the resurrection of Hamasyach, that his soul was not left in hell, neither his flesh did see corruption. This Yahawashi have Yahweh raised up, whereof we are all witnesses. Therefore, being by the right hand of Yahweh exalted, and having received of the Father the promise of the Holy Spirit, he hath showed forth this, which ye now see and hear. For David is not ascended into the heavens, but he saith himself, Yahweh said unto my Lord, sit thou on my right hand, which we went over that. So you get the full context and understanding. And that's what the New Testament does. Quote unquote New Testament, right? That's what the disciples, the apostles, right? Yahawashi and his disciples. This is what they teach, the expansion, the full understanding of things that were already written from before time. Right? You're getting a deeper understanding. But that's for those who the Most High has made it for them to accept. So clearly, right, you can't righteously get around this, as my good brother Shema Shawan would say. You can't righteously get around the fact that in Isaiah 53, that person that bear the iniquity, right, the chastisement, the stripes, that person was indeed the Messiah, who we know to be Yahawashi, the Hamasyach, who, bear the burden and sins, transgressions of Israel, on his back, was a sacrifice for Israel. And to be more specific, the nation of Israel, which really, truly, the elect and the chosen that will be joint heirs ruling under him, speaking of Yahawashi Hamasyach, in the kingdom to come. So I hope this was edifying for you, brothers and sisters. I want to give all the praise, all the honor, and the glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahawashi. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, that are learning and or teaching this gospel in truth and sincerity. Till next time, Yahweh willing, Shalom.